everyone, my name is Roya and I'm here to tell you all about the books that I read in June. So I did have a few really good reads this month. I mean, most everything I read this month was really good. I did only read 6 books in the month of June, which is why I didn't do a wrap up halfway through the month either, but that's okay because I mean the books that I read were pretty good, so I was able to squeeze in 6, which was good. So because I almost did not even make it to that, but anyway, so most recently I read A Trial of Sorcerers by Elise Kova. This is the first book in a in like the third, technically fourth, I guess, series in her universe, whatever, the Air Awakens universe. And honestly, so I haven't read every single one of her books. I have read the whole Air Awakens series, and I did read the first book in the series that follows that one, but I can definitely say this was my favorite of her books thus far. So basically this one follows a girl who has the water ability, because in this universe everyone, you know, not everyone, but like everyone with magic has elemental based magic. So hers is actually ice, it's not even water, so it's kind of crazy. She is kind of shunned and underestimated because at some point she lost control of her powers and ended up freezing somebody to death and giving somebody else frostbite, and so even though and on her part it was a totally innocent mistake and she like would never purposely do that, but a lot of people really don't care. They think that like she would do something like that on purpose, or that she would lose control again and kill more people, etc., etc. So, and even her whole family just kind of seems like they underestimate her and don't really let her do anything. So it comes time to choose who is going to go on this very important mission to another kingdom. She wants to do it really badly. So she competes in the tests that are meant to kind of choose who will go on this mission, and her brother is also competing, and her whole family just kind of assumes that she's going to throw hers in favor of him winning. But so she's kind of like, well, I do kind of want to do what my family says, but at the same time, like I really can't do that. And then there's a lot of stuff going on, just a lot, and it's really, really interesting. So literally the only reason that I did not give this book 5 stars was because my least favorite trope, the surprise villain trope, surprise, surprise, a lot of you guys probably know how much I just really do not like the surprise villain trope, reared its ugly head, and I did kind of expect that at least one person, I didn't know who, but I had it narrowed down to 2 people, was not going to be entirely as they seemed. I figured like something would happen where it would turn out that one of 2 people was not telling the truth or something, but for it to be like a surprise villain situation, I was like, really? And I mean, the reason I don't like the surprise villain is because we get to know a character a certain way and like suddenly they're a completely different character once they drop the act, kind of, and it's really annoying to me. And that is literally the only thing I did not like about this book. I liked everything else about it. I thought this book was amazing, and I'm really excited to see what happens in the next one. Before that, I read Kelsey Murphy and the Academy for the Unbreakable Arts. This was sent to me for review by Megan Beatty Communications, and this is a middle grade book. It's kind of a Percy Jackson but Celtic mythology type of thing, but it's not necessarily exactly like that by any means. So this book follows a girl named Kelsey who's 12 years old. She's been an orphan her whole, well, not her whole life, but since she was like 4, she's been an orphan. She doesn't even really know where she came from, who her parents were, or anything. And she's been in like foster care and just like really crappy group homes her whole life. And one day her caseworker and like some other lady kind of show up and reveal themselves to be fae, and they're trying to make her do something, but she doesn't really know what it is. And so she gets away from them, and she ends up following them into this weird portal, but for some reason it doesn't take her to the same place they went, wherever that may be. It took her to this school. So she ends up at this school just in time for like all the students there to be like, oh, there's a test for getting into the school. And she's like, I don't even know where I am. I don't know who you are. I don't know where this is, but like, okay, I guess I'm just here taking a test. Like, that's fine. And so she's, during the test, she is revealed to be a very rare um, and very shunned in this world, like, type of person with what abilities she has. So it's definitely a really good book. I definitely did think that it could have used more, like a little bit more to it, and there were some plot holes, but a lot of that, you know, in a middle grade book I can kind of forgive. But there were definitely some parts where something was not described, so like whatever creature it was or whatever thing that was happening was just not quite described. And so I'd have to be like, wait, were we even told what this thing looked like or what exactly happened at this part? And I'd have to go back, read the passage again, be like, no, we really didn't get a description at all. And so there were definitely a few instances like that. Like there were enough of them that I was like, wait. So it was get very weird how, so I think like the writing style just didn't want to describe stuff for some reason. But overall, I did really enjoy this book. I read it during a time that was really difficult for me, so it was a really good like comfort read and everything too. For that one, I read my favorite read of the year. This is the first book that I've given five stars to this year thus far. So this is Iron Widow by Jiren Zhao, and this is a book about basically a fantasy ancient China sort of, but basically different, like there are alien invaders essentially, and people are piloting these mecha things that fight the aliens, and essentially it has to be piloted by a boy and a girl, and basically the girl dies every time. And so basically these girls are made to go there to essentially be sacrifices, and in this society they still have to be like pretty to be chosen as a sacrifice, and it's like such BS. And it's really a good commentary on how society treats people who are not men as just blah, basically. And so this girl, she actually purposely like goes to be one of these sacrifices in order to get a minute alone with one of the pilots, because he killed her sister, not even in battle, but he like straight up murdered her. And so she wants to kill him. Who cares if if that's a detriment to what they're doing with the aliens and whatnot? Like, she just wants him dead. So she shows up, becomes a sacrifice, blah de blah. But before she can kill him, she winds up in being the female pilot in the thing, and she actually sacrifices him instead. And people like don't know what to do with her because that's insane. So, and she figures out from having all of this stuff happen that people are like, all the people in charge are actually rigging the game against girls because they want the boys to be able to, because one or the other may die, and so they want to like make sure that the boys don't die. And so it's really crappy. And there are a lot of really, really good quotes in here about how like women are not necessarily always on the side of women. Like, plenty of women still do horrible things to other women in favor of the patriarchy, essentially, and how people really don't I mean, even if someone's your family, even if people are your family, that does not mean you have to be loyal to them at all. If they treat you like shit, just like, who cares about them? That kind of thing. So it definitely, and then also there's a poly relationship in this. So the main character and two other main characters are actually in a poly relationship. They're all together, and it's great. And that made me so happy. But anyway, so this book is just amazing. Please read it. Before that, I read Red Shirts by John Scalzi. This is about basically exactly what it sounds like it's about. It's about some people who are on a spaceship and they figure out that whoever goes on any sort of mission with the main characters dies, and and so they're trying to figure out like why is that, and then they realize that they are on a TV show, and it's similar to Star Trek, where of course, they are the red shirts, and they're the ones who get killed off. So they end up having to actually go to the alternate universe where the show is being made, aka our world, and talk to the actors and say, hey, so please stop killing us off. And it's so weird, and it's really funny, and I definitely really enjoyed this. The Merciful Crow by Margaret Owen. This is a book that's really hard to describe without giving away the entire plot, but basically, it's a young adult fantasy. It's really interesting. It has some really cool stuff with the world building, where every sort of caste in the society is a different type of bird, and you can totally tell by what type of bird that is that would like what their role is, basically, which is kind of interesting. But I did feel like there was not enough character depth, or really, the stakes were not particularly high. But I did like this book. There are cats in it. It's really good. So I definitely do recommend it. I just felt like her other book was so much better, and I mean, I don't think there was anything bad about this one. I just felt like it lacked the depth that I was looking for. The Girl of Fire and Thorns by Ray Carson. So this is a sort of Latin American based fantasy, where this girl is essentially kind of a chosen one, but she also doesn't really know what that means. She's really kept in the dark about what exactly it is she's supposed to do, and then she's also like a second princess, and that like her family like doesn't know what to do with or anything, so they kind of marry her off to some guy, and but then, and so she like doesn't really know what she's doing there. People just kind of disrespect her all the time, and then she gets kidnapped, and then actually ends up being part of a resistance and everything too, and like she realizes that like everything is not what it seems at all. So this book was definitely really good. I definitely did enjoy reading it. I did think that it could have used just more, I guess. Like, I wanted more out of just the world and such, but I do think that I would continue with this series. I did think it was really good. So anyway, those are the books that I read in June. So let me know if you've read any of these, have any thoughts on them, any of that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you very soon with a new video. Bye!